There's been countless lies told about Africa, all of which to serve a purpose of reiterating a false narrative of the African continent. This portrays Africa through a needed lens as though Africans never had any sort of civilization prior to the arrival of Europeans. In this video, I'll be giving you the top 5 lies told about Africa. Lie number 1. Africans never left Africa. Not only is this statement false, it is dangerous and divisive. It mitigates amongst the greatest accomplishments known to mankind. Not only did Africans migrate to other continents, Africans sailed across the Atlantic and discovered the Americas centuries before Christopher Columbus. It is well documented of naval encounters various African empires had with other explorers like the Portuguese, from the Somali Empire all the way to the Mali Empire. One of the most well-known kings in the world, Mansa Musa of Mali, once said, "The king before him, King Abubakar Keita II, sailed across the Atlantic." This is well documented, and there is sufficient evidence to back this claim. Further evidence of this is Christopher Columbus himself being aware and documenting that Africans preceded him. During his second voyage, Columbus wrote in his diary of how he was given gold-tipped spearheads that the natives said were given to them by dark-skinned people who came in large boats from the southeast. It turns out that these spearheads were the same spearheads used in West Africa, Mali to be specific. Further evidence of Africans' arrival in the Americas prior to Europeans is the presence of Olmec statues. If you're not aware, these are Olmec statues. They were discovered in North and South America. These sculptures are dated back to 900 years before Christ. These stones clearly depict a sub-Saharan African. Each of these sculptures weighing on average 8 tons, that is 5 times heavier than a mid-sized car. These stones took 50 to 200 years to be carved. And an interesting question is, why would Native Americans spend so much time on sculptures of people who clearly have a different resemblance from themselves? Could they have been the ruler, a group of cherished allies, visitors, whoever they were? Obviously, they must have been very important to be remembered and cherished. People still say that it is a mystery where thousands of these sculptures come from. Despite the overwhelming evidence of African explorations, authors are reluctant to acknowledge this fact and simply skip over the formidable evidence, as though these enormous sculptures simply fell out of the sky due to some sort of alien extraterrestrial glitch in space-time. Yes. People would rather conclude that this is the might of aliens as opposed to acknowledging the circumnavigation of Africans across the globe, even as Christopher himself wrote in his diary that Africans came before him. Before I head over to the second most common lie told about Africa, I just want to use this opportunity to say thank you for pressing the thumbs up button. Okay, I know what you're thinking. Akin, what are you talking about? I didn't press the thumbs up button. I know you didn't, but at least now you're thinking about it, so why not? Africans never came up with a written language except Egyptians. Okay. I remember being told this in my history class, and at the time I thought nothing of it, and I also had little knowledge of my history to decipher the inconsistencies in that statement. Today I find it ironic that the only African society that was never colonized is the only African kingdom fairly recognized today for having their own written language and calendar system. If you don't know, I am referring to Amharic of Ethiopia. Thinking about it, I wonder what Africa would be like if we were never colonized and we maintained our own writing language and calendar system. Would we still date prior events using the Gregorian calendar? Oh, and by the way, to my Ethiopian brothers and sisters, Happy New Year. Africa has the world's oldest and largest collections of ancient writing systems. The evidence dates to prehistoric time and can be found in multiple regions of the continent. The oldest writing system is from Africa. No, not hieroglyphics, but Proto-Saharan. This was developed 5,000 years before Christ in modern-day Sudan. In contrast, Europe's oldest written language is Greek, which is not fully in use until roughly around 1,400 years before Christ and was largely derived from an older African script. Okay. I understand that this is an unfair contrast considering how ancient Proto-Saharan is, but I only say this to prove that Africans had been writing thousands of years before every other civilization. A more advanced written language is the Meroitic script developed by Nubians. This was in use 300 years before Christ and was a big influence to what we now know as hieroglyphics. Both the Egyptians and the Nubians who developed the Meroitic script shared the same writing system at some point in their history. The importance of this is that every writing system that we we know and use today can trace certain portions of its history all the way to the Meroitic script, from Latin to Greek to Arabic, all the way to modern day English. If you're still here, odds are you are oddly interested in this channel, and others might be as well. Showing that you enjoyed this video by pressing the thumbs up button will help spread this message further than you think. So, I'm West African, and the written language that was used in West Africa prior to colonization is called Nsabidi Guys. This is a written language with over 500 different letters. There are two versions of this written language, one of which was used by the majority of the citizens and the other by the nobles. This was very common in Africa. Knowledge was considered sacred to the point that several variations of the same written language was made, one to preserve knowledge and the other for casual use. There are so many elements of our history that is being discovered today, and I am really excited about that. The Rosetta Stone, for example, was discovered to enable us to decipher hieroglyphics. The Rosetta Stone contained within it hieroglyphics and two other languages, one of which was Greek, which had never been forgotten. Even as scholars knew the Greek language, it took about 20 years to find the interpretation for hieroglyphics. Because we're yet to discover a Rosetta Stone for most of Africans' written languages does not mean Africans didn't write anything down. If you haven't yet, don't forget to press the thumbs up button. Wait, you haven't pressed the thumbs up button? Pause the video. Scroll down and press the thumb. You know what? Forget it. I'll pause the video for you. Line number 3. Africans didn't contribute to global civilization. Well, of course this is a lie, but the worst part about this is that not only does the world believe that, so do we. And this affects us in more ways than we realize. There's no sense of pride in a history that one believes has no consequential results in the modern civilization that we all live in. Ask yourself this question. Can you name at least one thing that Africans has contributed to modern day society? The honest truth is, most people can, from Africans living on the continent to those in the diaspora. It saddens me to see people dissociating themselves from Africa simply because a distorted version of our history is being propagated. And I don't blame anyone, because I too ran away from my heritage, because everything that I was taught about my history and where I come from is that we had nothing until the arrival of Europeans. And to dispel this belief, I'll start with an example that is most relevant to everyone in the world today. Vaccines. I remember in my microbiology class a few years ago, and the topic was vaccines. We're studying the fathers of microbiology, and Edward Jenner was mentioned as the founder of vaccines. I was devastated because knowing my history, vaccinations had been something practiced in Africa for a long time and only reached Europe by the words of a slave named Asemius. At the time, Europe was devastated by one of its many plagues, smallpox. Asemius told his master Cotton Mather how he had seen this disease as a child. Cotton Mather proceeded along with this. Initially, he was rebuked, especially considering that he had made the mistake of mentioning that his slave Asemius told him about it. He was called names: a dog, baboon, dumb hillcock. A bomb was thrown through his window. Understanding the way the inoculation process worked, you'll understand why people were so infuriated as to how to cure this disease. We've all heard of the vast amount of plagues that hit Europe: the bubonic plague, Black Death, the plague of Justinian, the Third Plague pandemic, and so on. We barely hear of any plagues from Africa. Not because we didn't have any, but I believe it's because we knew how to treat it. A good friend of mine, Emeka, made a similar video titled, "Do Africans Need Vaccines?" You guys should definitely check him out. He is one of my favorite YouTubers out there. I love his content, and if you love my videos, you'll definitely love his channel. I'll have his video linked down in the description below. Head over to his channel after this video and tell him Akin sent you. In the future, we'll be working on something together. Africans had always had intensive knowledge of the human body and how it works. Another of the feats accomplished by Africans to prove this is surgery. There are variations of surgeries performed in Asian Africa, one of which is eye surgery performed in West Africa. The technique used at the time was so successful that it's still being practiced 2,000 years later, almost the exact same way it was done in the beginning, with the exact same tools. Now, I'm not going to play the full video of the surgery being performed because it may be disturbing to some viewers like me. I'll have the video linked down in the description below. Fun fact: in a modern surgical room of a hospital, this same surgery is performed a similar way that it was done 2,000 years ago in West Africa, with almost the exact same looking tools. Another of the most ancient African accomplishments that is consequential to our world today is cesarean section. Although originated in Africa, It's named after a European, Caesar. European travelers during the 19th century documented surgeries performed on the continent. To be precise, in modern-day Uganda. They noted the skills in which these surgeries were performed. Europeans were introduced to these practices upon their initial visits to Africa. Line number 4 is in regards to slavery, and I've already made this video, so I will have it linked right up here, but I know none of you guys are going to watch that video, so I'm just going to tell you about it. In summary, we've all been told of Africans selling other Africans during the slave trade, but this notion is something that is further from the truth without context being applied into it. The video narrates the context that needs to be applied onto that statement, because saying that Africans sold each other is a disingenuous way of actually stating what happened. The entire video establishes that context, and I will have a link with a playlist of my video and Ameka's video down below. Make sure to head over to the descriptions before you leave. Also, let us reason together. You can leave a comment down in the comments. I respond to every single comment. Line number 5 is me. Yes, I am a lie. I know that this video is titled Top 5 Lies, but in all actuality, it is 4. Initially, I had this section dedicated to something else, but currently, I have a more pressing need of something that I believe needs to be identified. There is a great history of oppression that is faced by Africans around the world. And in this context, I use the word Africans to encompass everyone of African descent. Haitians, African Americans, European Americans, and more. Our history is not being taught in totality. This gives the right of way to misconceptions, and it is difficult to operate from this perspective. We have no pride in our own heritage, our past. We may not see the way it affects us as a people, but I assure you that this is the origin of our pain and suffering. There's no way to liberate your mind other than finding your origin. In order to know where you are going, you have to know where you have been. I'm sure that at least 90% of everyone watching this video, this might be the first time that you're hearing of this section of our history. To successfully enslave a continent of people, you have to strip them of their identity. No wonder slaves upon their arrival to foreign soil were stripped of their language, names, culture, to further create distance within them and their identity. This identity crisis is faced by Africans on the continent too. I found myself in the liberation of my mind through the studying of my history, and I believe the same for you too. Like many others, I had inconsistent beliefs about my history too. Our history and evidence towards our history is out there. We just need to look. All these images that I have been showing you are great African kingdoms whose glorious past remain evidence till modern day, but of course remains omitted from our textbooks. Hi, my name is Akin and I approve this message. In all seriousness though, if you gained any sort of value from this video and would like to see more of it, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and also to press the notification bell, or this might be the last time that you see any of the videos of this channel. Also, let us reason together. Don't forget to leave a comment. Share this video if you know someone that needs to hear it. That's all for now. I pray that this video has met you well and in good health. I pray that you're safe and that you're currently living the best versions of your life. I love you all so much. Stay safe and have a wonderful, wonderful day.